The Vietnam War was a conflict that left deep scars on soldiers, civilians, and landscapes alike. But beneath the jungle, hidden from the skies, was a secret world, an intricate maze of tunnels that would become the battlefield for one of the war's most terrifying jobs, the tunnel rats. These tunnels, first dug by the Viet Minh during the fight against French colonial forces, were expanded by the Viet Cong during the American phase of the war. By the 1960s, the tunnels stretched for hundreds of miles across southern Vietnam, forming underground networks that included living quarters, supply routes, command centers, hospitals, and even weapons factories. Imagine an entire community living below the ground, a hidden world, always prepared to vanish in the blink of an eye. For American forces, the tunnels posed a serious threat. They allowed the Viet Cong to appear suddenly, execute attacks, and then disappear into thin air. No matter how much air power or artillery was used, the tunnels provided both a sanctuary and a stronghold, giving the Viet Cong an almost ghostly advantage. But how could the US military combat an enemy it couldn't even see? The answer came in the form of soldiers known as tunnel rats. Tunnel rats were a select group of soldiers, often smaller in build, with a mental resilience that few others could match. They were the ones tasked with entering the tunnels, one by one, often armed with little more than a flashlight, a pistol, and a knife. Imagine crawling into the pitch-black earth, knowing every inch could be booby-trapped with grenades, punji sticks, or deadly snakes. These tunnels were often just large enough for one person to fit, meaning tunnel rats had to crawl or crouch their way through the darkness, never knowing what lay around the next corner. With each step, they faced the unknown. Trained for these missions, tunnel rats had to stay completely silent, relying on their instincts, experience, and nerves of steel. Sometimes they'd encounter Viet Cong soldiers, and the encounters would be fast, brutal, and often deadly. Close quarters combat in those tunnels left no room for hesitation. These underground spaces weren't just dark and cramped. They were filled with hazards specifically designed to counter intruders. Booby traps of all kinds awaited, from grenades triggered by tripwires to punji stake pits. Sharpened bamboo spikes smeared with toxins. The air was thick, the tunnels often sweltering, and oxygen levels dangerously low. Yet the tunnel rats pressed forward, knowing the mission was often a matter of life or death, not just for them, but for their comrades on the surface. One of the most infamous tunnel systems was the Cu Chi tunnels, located just outside of Saigon. Here, the tunnels were so advanced that they had multiple levels, with trapdoors, ventilation systems, and even routes that would lead to underwater escape routes into the Saigon River. The complexity of these tunnels meant the Viet Cong could move troops, supplies, and information without being detected. For the tunnel rats, this added complexity to an already perilous task. Their work wasn't just about disabling traps or clearing out small sections. It was about understanding an entire underground network in real time, and knowing that one wrong turn could lead them deeper into the heart of the enemy's lair. Despite the danger, the tunnel rats carried out their missions with a fierce sense of duty. They became a close-knit group, bound by the shared horrors of the tunnels. These soldiers didn't just battle the Viet Cong underground. They also faced their own fears, pushed to the limits by the claustrophobic, deadly environment that could close in on them at any moment. And yet, their contributions were often unseen, just like the tunnels themselves. For them, there were no accolades, no grand ceremonies. Just the knowledge that they had faced the darkness, both literal and psychological, to protect their comrades above. The Vietnam War ended, but the legacy of the tunnels and the brave souls who ventured into them lives on. For the people of Vietnam, these tunnels are a reminder of resilience, of the will to survive against all odds. And for the tunnel rats, their stories remain as haunting echoes of a war fought in the shadows. The tunnels may have become silent, but their memory and the courage of those who dared to enter them will never fade away.